Welcome back to the Iconoclast Music Podcast. Damn it, that's not what it's called. It's called Greg and Bill's Guitar Uproar. And since 2017, I called it Iconoclast Music Podcast. New format today. Got some video going today. So what I'm doing is I'm recording in my studio here. And Bill's got his FaceTime going. And I'm actually doing a screen recording of him until we can get proper camera set up, proper camera and lighting in his studio. So I've got all my backlighting. I've got everything dialed in. I've been working on that, for years here, trying to get everything to look great. My skin tone, like it looks like I got a little suntan. But, we've been doing this show. We've had 6 episodes that were audio only. And look, I like to listen to podcasts when I'm on a walk with my dogs or something, or if I'm on my bike. But at the end of the night, I'm sitting and I'm watching videos, and Joe Bonamassa's got a great one. There are a lot of really great podcasts out there. One of the things that kind of bums me out is the video quality, in the Zoom meeting, so you can't really do this via Zoom. You got to set up cameras, you got to record the audio in a pro studio, and you got to kind of up the production value, because we're all sitting at home right now. I'm producing a movie right now, but I don't have the luxury of going to play shows, because everything's pretty much shut down. So that's why we're going to do this in a video format for some episodes, and I'm hoping this is all going to pan out and look great, sound great. Anyway, enough of my bull crap. Bill,
yes,
is my co-host. Bill's, if you listen to the first 6 episodes of the new show, you'll. Bill's working on his mic stand right now. But Bill, welcome to the show, man. Welcome. Thanks for being my co-host.
Hey, glad to be here. Pleasure to be here. It's been fun. And 6 episodes so far.
And just seconds before we, we're just setting everything up. Really, I like I said, I set this all up last night, and I usually keep my gear set up. I'll tear down after like a podcast or whatever, because this is my studio. This is my home studio. I've done all my instructional, demo videos from here. Bill, you're kicking it in your spot there in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm home in San Francisco now, but I will be starting to do it from my studio in Santa Clara. So
and that's why this is just basically we're doing it beta version.
Yeah,
because I wanted to see if I could do this. Can I do a screen grab? One of the things we noticed is that for whatever reason, we can't figure out how to do a screen recording for FaceTime and get the audio to record as well. I don't know what's going on with that.
I mean, we figured it out, but it's not working,
But it's not working. It might be a reboot. It might be an iOS 15 scenario, right?
It could be, yeah, because it used to work fine.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to play a little guitar here and then talk about it, and then you're going to do the same thing. We're going to talk about our influences. We're not trying to be pretentious in this episode, but we didn't really have a ton of, topics planned like we do in the other episodes, for our podcast. We usually have a ton of topics, but, I had the idea, let's just do this, man. Let's just jump into the video version of this. I'll edit it together, but let me play a little bit, and then I'll talk about the gear I'm using.
All right.
That was going nowhere. I was going nowhere fast. Okay, so this is my favorite guitar. I got this guitar in like 2008, something like that, 2009. When Charvel, Fender USA, they put out these limited colors. They had like they rebooted the brand. They bought Charvel and they rebooted the brand. They made these production model guitars. They were $1,099. They were built in the US. They're all USA made. In fact, I took a lot of tours down at the Corona, the visitor center when they had that going, and I asked those guys down there, "This is all USA, right?" And they said, "Yes, it's USA." So I love this guitar. It was like, I think they called it Seasick green when I first got it. It's got the Fishman Modern pickups in it. This is a special one-off that was made for another artist, and I got these from Ken Susie at Fishman. Obviously, I had it painted by Pat Wilkins. And I don't know if this is showing up.
Yeah,
but,
it's showing up.
Basically what it is that Steve I Finish, because Pat Wilkins Finishing down in Van Nuys did the original for the movie, for the Crossroads movie. So before Gus G put out his import version, boy, all that audio is not going to be on there, but whatever. This is, pseudo live. So before Gus G put out the version, which is a killer guitar, I had this one made and, I had it painted rather. But I absolutely love this guitar. I mean, there's nothing really crazy to talk about except for the neck profile is absolutely amazing. I love these guitars. I've got two of them. I've got another USA that's from right around the same time. And this was Slime Green. And I had the Fishmans put in there from courtesy of Fishman and Ken Susi. So these are my two main guitars. And Bill, you got a Les Paul there, man. Talk about your guitar.
Yeah, I do. And it's actually not even like, so this is a Les Paul Jeff Beck model. And I'm not that fond of it. It's actually like a studio guitar. It's my bass player's actually. And he's also a guitar player. But I brought it here because I was doing some recording, some overdubs for when we worked with Simon Phillips, and he wanted me to do some overdubs. And so he said, "Can you use the same guitar you used on the recording?" So I was like, "Well, yeah, I can."
I gotcha.
But I had to go down to the studio, pick it up, bring it back to San Francisco. And this is what I used on this particular overdub I had to do on the album. So it's not, I mean, it's a cool guitar. It plays great. I think Les Pauls are just overrated. They're bulky. They have no comfort to them. I've just never been a fan.
Well, I mean, that's that neck and neck, that age old, Les Paul guy, the shortened scale and the Strat 25 and a half scale. I mean, my thing is always like I learned on a 25 and a half inch scale. I never owned a Gibson in my life. And I don't particularly like the feel of that other scale.
Yeah.
Is it 24 3/4? If you know the answer, comment below. I mean, and by the way, I'm supposed to remind people every 5 minutes, please subscribe to my channel. If you like the potential of the content that's coming.
Yeah, there you go.
You're supposed to say that unashamed. You're supposed to say, subscribe to my channel.
Or they always say, smash the like button. I can't stand that, by the way. You're not smashing anything. Yeah. You're clicking a little button and it touches it. You're not smashing nothing. So.
Yeah. I get you. I like the look of that guitar, and I do like Jeff. I mean, I love Jeff Beck.
Oh, I love Jeff Beck.
I dig that guitar. I did really like that guitar a lot. The thing is like, I didn't grow up playing those guitars, but I don't know about you, but I get to a certain point, if I can sit with a guitar for a couple hours, I can get used to it. And I can find out what it's got going, where the mojo is. You know what I mean? And I can usually feel comfortable on just about anything. Let me just look around at my guitars. I really don't have, I mean, the thing that always pisses me off is if a guitar doesn't stay in tune.
Yeah.
That's where the double locking is like super nice because, all that nice wiggle in there. That's the other thing about Les Pauls or like fixed bridge guitars, which I'd play fixed bridge for like 20 years, but came back to this because I like the like when you play a chord, all the notes are going underneath the pitch and above the pitch. I just love that.
I've never been,
like I said,
I've never been a whammy bar guy, so
yeah,
vibrato.
I mean, I really have. I started with my first guitar. Let me grab this real quick. This is kind of cool. And by the way, folks, you can see we're just BSing today. This was supposed to have been a beta version of this. So, maybe maybe next time, you'll have a little more dedicated content. But let me grab my first guitar.
All right.
Nice, brother. Sounds great, dude. So this guitar,
Not bad.
it's an RG 570.
That was your first guitar?
Well, this wasn't my first guitar. It was my first good, like really good guitar. Before this, I had a BC Rich Warlock.
So did I.
Which, yeah, dude, it was killer. It was like I think it was $187 if I remember correctly. And for my 16th birthday, I got that thing. When I graduated high school, I was working at Subway the first summer out of high school. And I remember like saving all of my money because I saw this guitar. I loved the finish. It's called Jewel Blue. And then when I was a DiMarzio artist, I had all the like the PAF Pro and the whatever they call it, Tone Zone, and I forget what it is, but it's all the like the Paul Gilbert pickups, what he would have used. But this guitar, I don't have a whammy in it right now, but this was my first good whammy. And the thing that was cool about these is I think they call this the Edge 2. Man, we should have gotten our facts straight before we started the episode, but it doesn't matter. It's an RG 570, and it came from the Japanese Fujigen factory, which these guitars were like, if I'm getting my facts correctly, I mean, obviously leave your comments in down below if I'm getting this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that this guitar was the same as the Gem guitar. It came out of the same factory, it was the same build, all the tooling was exactly the same. And these necks, the Wizard necks, are amazing. They're super fast. The thing never goes out of tune. And it still feels as quality today as it did when I first got it. I mean, this guitar is just ripping. I mean, I think it was like $600 brand new. And now you just can't even find these. I mean, they've reissued them and stuff, but you can't find, this is in 1990. This is of the day. I mean, So I've got this one. Let me grab my other one. I've got another one that was a 1988, I want to say.
I've actually got a Ibanez USA Custom, one of the original ones.
Dude, really?
Yeah, with a quilted top on it. Absolutely gorgeous guitar. It's got some dings on it.
When are you selling that to me, man?
Yeah, you don't want it. I mean,
is it for sale?
No, I mean, I've had it for years.
Yes, nostalgic, huh?
The headstock was cracked. I had to have that fixed, and it's got a ding on the body. It's got some wear on it, but it's a USA Custom with the double truss rod, and I put a Steve Vai Evolution pickup in the bridge, and it's got the Edge trim on it. It's a great guitar. I used to love that thing.
So this is my RG 750, Ibanez RG 750, and it started life. I don't know if you can even see it. It's still in there. Yeah, it's like the powder blue.
Oh, wow.
So then I had it was a couple different finishes. I had my buddy Ralph D'Antonio, who I grew up with, and we listened to shred music in the late 80s. He recently passed, but he painted a crazy monster graphic on this thing. Then I had it all stripped down, and it was like bare wood finish, and then I just had Pat Wilkins put the satin finish on it. So it's all stealthed out, and it's got the Mighty Mite pickups in here. This guitar is pretty sick too.
See all that
same neck,
all that work you put into that, right? Like you had it painted, and then you had it stripped down, and then you had to repaint it. For me, that's just too much work. I'm like, I just buy another guitar. It's just I've never had a guitar painted in my life. Well, that's not true. When I designed and built a couple of my own guitars when I worked for Steve Klein, my brother painted one of my guitars for me in this really cool black light and glow in the dark paint. Which I still have the guitar, actually.
This podcast sponsored by Strap Tight Strap Locks, the most secure, affordable guitar strap locks on the market. Install and remove in under 2 seconds. No need for any tools. Endorsed by legends such as Joe Satriani, Glenn Hughes, Carl Verheyen, and more. Get yours at straptight.com.
All right, we're back, and thanks from Strap Tight Strap Locks for sponsoring the show. I mean, the audio version of this is usually what we play, but we're going to have to, I'll be overlaying some pictures and stuff in there. So, Bill, send me some Strap Tight ad stuff, because, Bill, it's your company, Strap Tight.
How about this? Bam.
Just whatever you have, and that way we can have that on there. And thanks for sponsoring the show for sure.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man. So, it's funny. It's a little different being on video, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, man.
in a way it is. Like right now, I can only see you because I don't have my screen up. So I'm just looking at you. So I feel like you're the only one on video and I'm just sitting here chilling out.
Yeah. So you can't see my video, you're saying?
No, I can see you fine. But I
can't see yourself.
I can't see myself.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I can't see all the ugly faces I'm making and stuff.
Yeah, let me see my guitar.
Sounds like it.
All right, so the way I'm running my rig, I'll just say real quick. Victory V130 in the room, the Super Countess, that's what you're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm running my guitar into my DAW. It's actually going through a Victory Kraken head into the Sir Reactive Load, into the DAW, and I'll be popping all these images up on screen so people can check it out. But I'm going to be doing a dedicated video on using like IRs in the Reactive Load box, because I've had like a bunch of people, and everybody says that, I had a bunch of requests. I actually did have a ton of people over the last couple months ask me about one of the videos I did. Like, can you explain it a little bit better? And man, I love this way of recording because you don't have to mic an amp and the sound is exactly the same from day to day. Like, for instance, I took a month off, dude, and from recording my new record, and I came back and I kind of forgot. What I was doing. I know I have the Victory Kraken I'm using for rhythms, and I'm using either the Super Countess or the Friedman Pink Taco for leads. So I don't change any of the settings. Those stay exactly the same. And in fact, I put a little marker note on all the different settings on my amp, so I know exactly where those are. So I was able to dial in the tones exactly by just flipping the one amp on. The other amp, I did change the settings a little bit, but you can kind of dial it pretty quickly. You can get the exact same tone as you had before. And for me, being old school and new school, at the same time, I like to blend that notion of like, I want to use a real amp. I don't want it to be 100% modeling. And I get that there are guys out there that are using the Quad Cortex, which the neural stuff's amazing. Axe FX makes a good product, but to me, I kind of like to have the air moving. When I play live, I want to use an amp. I mean, we're not going to all live forever. So for me, it's like, that's my comfort zone. I like the way the sound of the way an amp sounds in the room. And so that's the way I'm using this. I've got a Wampler Tumnus pedal going into a noise suppressor, and then I'm just A-Bing from the Twin City ABY box, from Radial Engineering, which I absolutely love that thing. There's no bleed from channel to channel. I've used some cheaper boxes, and you always hear some weird artifacts in there. And so for this, it's super clean. And then I'm using an MXR, the carbon copy, the mini delay that we talked about.
Yeah.
I think you have one too.
Yep.
I'm using that in the loop of my in the room amp. I'm not recording that. So it's kind of cool. You can hear that. Obviously you'll hear that, and then I'll mute it in post. So what's your normal way of recording? Like what's your go-to live? What's your go-to recording rigs?
Live, I have a Diesel Hagen that I run through my my Stone Age 412.
I think it's Hagen. I think there's
I don't know. I've heard
Hagen.
Hagen. It probably is though, because it probably is. But so I have that running the Stone Age, which has some Scumbag speakers in them. I have 3 Stone Age 4x12s. So one of them has greenbacks. The other 2 have the Scumbags. And then I have a Voodoo that I like to run as well. That was modded. Forgot who modded it, but it's got a boost and a brutal switch on it, which actually really kicks up that tone. It's a very George Lynch tone if you kick in the brutal switch. George Lynch from like the Under Lock and Key era.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And then I've got my Wizard head. Yep. I got my Wizard head, which runs, which is basically modded it was built by Angus Young's tech to Angus's specs. So it's you can't get a more AC/DC tone than you have with that head. And I have the matching
What's it called?
Wizard, my Wizard.
Oh, the wizard head. Yeah.
And then I have the matching wizard 4x12 for that head. That's my three main heads that I have. I had a PV Triple X that I had three of those. They all broke. So I'm done with those. Mesa Boogie.
It's that PCB board, man. They just had a shit ton of problems with that thing and the solder and the whole whatever.
It's a piece of junk. I have a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier, Tremo Verb, and then I think it's a triple rectifier that I never use ever. It sits on a shelf and it just sits there. I never ever use it. So I used to be an Axe FX guy. That's all I would use, but now I'm going into it's just all tube. And then,
me too, man. You got to get on the boat with the reactive load boxes, though. Man.
I know.
You got to get one. And the Sur is like $3.99. I think I got it last summer, and I've never pulled a mic. I mean, I did for a minute just to do some demos on something, but I love that because you can dial it exactly the way that you would mic it, but you don't have any room noise. You don't have to crank the fuck out of it in the room. And there's just I think to me it's a lot more beneficial to use IRs in that way.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are using them, or at least you would think they would. I'm sure once they catch on, they will.
Well, here's the thing. If you end up getting one, I've got this IR pack that has all these amazing cabinets in it.
Oh, okay.
And it's really easy to use. I mean, you do run it through your DAW, so you got to, obviously you're recording. The mindset is recording for me at least. Yeah. And, you run it through your DAW and then you get the exact tone that you want, and you're dialing your amp in and it's reacting. For me, the Axe FX just always bum me out because I don't want to go through, an hour's worth of menus.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing affects that thing. And then I go to another parameter with like the proximity of the microphone to the speaker. And it's just like, okay, that affects something else in another window. And I'm like, you know what, man?
I mean,
it's too much tweaking, man. Just give me an amp that does what it does. And I want it to be realistic to what would normally happen with an amp, not, having to be an engineer to make the thing work.
Well, I think
that's at least me.
And I think the Axe FX, like anything, it's you get out of it like what you put it. You can get it to where it's as complicated as you want it to be, or you can get it to where it's as simple as you want it to be. And just because you get it complicated doesn't mean it's going to sound good.
I've gotten some great tones and I've used them on records.
Yeah, I mean,
I've used the Axe FX on records.
I've used
and
it
you can
on
get
3.
some great, fantastic tones. Yeah.
I mean, the worst I've ever heard an Axe FX sound live was I was at trying to think, was it NAMM or was it the John Petrucci camp? It was the John Petrucci camp. And not going to say who, but there was a guy there that was.
I'll say it.
No. I don't remember his name, so I can't say who. But he was one of the guys that worked for Axe FX, and he was leaving. He was leaving the camp to go to LA to go to the Grammys to set it up for Metallica. And if you watch their performance, their tones are so awful. Just wow! It's like an AM radio tone, and it was scratchy and it was horrible. And I was like, "Why? Whoa. Why would they even attempt to?" I mean, I like that Metallica is forward thinking. I like that they don't rest on their laurels, and they're always trying something new. They're always trying to push the envelope, whether it's with the gear they use or whatever. But you know what? They have a sound, stick with that sound, which is tube amps, which for them has always been Marshalls and Mesa Boogies. That's always been their key to their tone. So to go switch over to the Axe FX for this live thing was, I think, just god awful.
Wow. I'm going to disagree with you. I've watched a lot.
You watched it? Did you watch it?
Not that, but I've seen other things where they had their tech that went backstage and, I've seen some of the live performances around the time when they switched to Axe FX, and they got some fucking killer tones. Well, it comes down to the IRs, bro. It comes down to that, I think.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
If you have some great IRs that are doing what an actual cab is doing, then you're gonna get great results. I mean, that's the same thing as what I'm doing right now. I have these great IRs, so going through the reactive load box is just an accurate, sort of translation of what the signal's doing coming out of the back of the Kraken the Victory Kraken. So yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. Send me that performance. I'd like to see that.
All right,
because I know that they've been successful in getting some amazing tones, Metallica, through the Axe effects. And even like that little, I think it's called the Quad Cortex, the Neural DSP. Megadeth is using those. At least Kiko Laredo is using them.
I saw that video.
And his tone is fucking killing, man.
Yeah, he's a killer guitar
It's amazing.
player, man. Kiko's a killer guitar
I love the Neural DSP stuff.
Yeah.
I have it as the plug-in for a recording. It's just too processor hungry for my old Mac. It's a 2015 Mac that I've got all my plugins in. So it's like kind of useless for me. So that's why this setup works, because I can use all my great amps that sound great through my cabinets. They're going to sound the same way recorded. So that's important. To me, it's important to be able to get the amp to sound like what the amp was designed to sound like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but there is nothing like standing in front of a Marshall, or I mean, not a Marshall. No offense against Marshall users, but I don't like them. There's no.
Hey, by the way, time out. In case you haven't noticed, what Bill says in the audio is never edited, but he speaks his mind. There's no filter really. And for me, I try to play both sides of the fence on opinions. But I like that I like that you're in this podcast with me, because you don't pull any punches.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm not going to lie about what I use or something like that, or what I don't use. I mean, if I don't like something, I don't like it, and there's a reason I don't like it. You know what I mean? And for me, Marshall's just never, ever done it for me. I mean, the tones, I mean, not even AC/DC are using Marshalls anymore. They're using Wizards, I mean, it's just, Marshalls just, I don't know what it is. They just never appealed to me whatsoever.
Okay, look, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm a Victory Amps endorsed artist. I've done a lot of I did their trade show, the very last one they did. And then, we had some clinics set up, and it was going to be like such a great thing before COVID, but I like Friedman amps. I like Victory amps.
I got one of those, yeah.
What else? I mean, I like their other amps. I think Third Power makes a fantastic amp. They nailed it. But when it comes to like a Marshall by itself, it always feels like it needs an assistance.
Totally.
It seems like you're going to need to have a pedal in front of it. You're going to need the EQ, in post. There's a lot you got to do. But I always love the teeth of a JCM 800. I always love like the nice toothy tone you're going to get. But there's something about the bottom on Marshalls that always seemed a little underwhelming. And I do like Mesas too. Mesas seem to fill that void. Mesas seem like they got the bottom end covered, man. But Marshalls, to me, you're going to have a nice meaty bass tone, and the kick has to be super, punched up in order for it to really do its job.
Well, yeah, and you always see guys that have Marshalls, they always get them modded. It's just like, wait a minute, didn't you buy that Marshall because you love the sound of it, and now you're modding it to sound like something else, or to give it some extra push or extra oomph, And,
Having said that, Doug Aldridge, bro.
Yeah.
Fucking killing it with his tone.
Yeah.
And he's all Marshall. The Jose mod.
Jose Arredondo.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he mods everything. He modded Satriani's. He modded everybody's, man. It's I don't know, man. I'm not a I guess you'd say a gearophile. I got a ton of gear, but I'm not a gearophile, I like, I mean, if somebody gives me an amp, I'll use it. If it sounds cool, I'll use it. I'm not going to be, like, oh, it's the greatest amp in the world, or, it's whatever. I mean, but if you find something you like and it truly is the greatest amp in the world for you, then great. Whether that be a Marshall or a Mesa or a Victory or whatever, right? If it speaks to you, that's all that matters, right?
Right.
And so for me, Marshalls just never spoke to me. I like my Diesel. I like my Voodoo. I like my Wizard. I don't need to go any farther than that. I mean,
you need a Victory.
Hey, if I had a Victory, I'd try it. If I had a Victory, I would try it.
Next time you're down, man, you're going to have to plug into my because I think you'll dig it.
All right. I mean,
I think you will. I mean, the thing about Martin Kidd, who designed all these amps, is that he kind of found his own voice while staying true to classic voices out there, is what I'll say. And their clean is second to none. I love the clean on these amps. So I mean, next time you're down,
all right,
you know.
All right. You know, I mean, the whole gear industry to me is just kind of, it's almost like eating itself. You know, it's almost cannibalistic because you see how many effects pedals are out there. I mean, thousands and thousands of brands, dude.
By the way, that's our topic for today because Premier Guitar just sent their newest issue, and it's the effects pedal issue, and there's a trillion, and it's funny because someone put out. I have one. I have my own boutique pedal.
There you go.
We sold a shit ton of these.
Right.
This is through Punch Pedals. I love the pedal. I love it. We sold a ton of these pedals, and they're still selling. But the thing is like everybody and their grandma is making a boutique pedal.
Dude, and the thing is, I mean, so in San Jose, there's a guitar store that I used to go to a lot, right? And they have this lady.
What was that, Guitar Showcase?
Yes. So they have this lady that comes in, and her name is Kate. They call her Pedal Kate. She has something like 3,000 pedals. I think something like 3,000 pedals, 400 guitars, 200 amps, and she'll buy the pedals that are limited edition for $6,000 a piece, and they only make 5 of them. You know, and these pedal companies, they prey on people like that because they know that they're, you know, oh, we're going to make a limited edition. This one's got a blue, you know, a casing instead of a red one. So this one's, you know, $1,000 more. Yeah. But it's like, look, you can take the average guitar player, you can take the average person. I don't care how much that pedal costs. If it's $1,000, $100, or $50,000, average person will never be able to tell the difference between that pedal. And then by the time you get that pedal and you run it through your recording software and your mixing board or however you're going to record, nobody will be able to tell the difference. And I'm sorry, Eric Johnson, you can't tell the difference. Sorry. No.
Wow.
I don't buy it.
You just peed all over Eric Johnson, too?
No. Eric Johnson's a fantastic guitar player. He's one of my favorite guitar players in the world. But I remember as a kid, them going, well, he could tell the difference between a Duracell and an Everready. You know what?
Batteries,
yeah. I'm like, no, man, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. That's all. That's all. You know what, though?
You know, it's not all hype. That's definitely not. Let me tell you why. It's not all 100%. Maybe some of it is.
Some.
The battery, no, I don't know about that. But I will say that like different power sources, I notice a difference in my pedals.
Yes.
There's another thing that ends up happening, and that is that when you have a lot of pedals in an area, especially if you're within, you know, if you're in an arena, or not even an arena, but in a theater or a club that has not the most clean power.
Sure.
When you start grouping pedals together, they pick up an RF signal, and they pick up the shitty waveforms in the air. You know what I mean? They pick up all these things, and they tend to do their own thing where they pick up sounds. And when you lift certain pedals just a couple inches, 3 inches, you'll notice that some of that goes away. So as far as like signal to noise ratio, things like that,
of course,
you know, look, and the other thing I should probably mention is that neither one of us are engineers.
Yeah.
I'm a guitar player since I'm a little kid. That's it. We're not experts in any way. This is just our opinions, man. And this is like working musicians' opinions, I think is the best way to describe it.
But
because the truth is you're going to have guys out there that will only work on collecting gear, collecting all the greatest and the latest and greatest.
Yep.
But they don't find that one. Like you got to kind of settle in on some that works for you, or know the tone that you're going for. Because if you're all about collecting, you're just looking at the new daily deal on Musician's Friend.
Exactly.
You're not really interested in getting your tone together, which I mean, most people will agree. If you've played for, you know, for me, I've played for 40 something years of my life, 45 years of my life. I'm going to be 50 next year. You kind of figure some shit out. I mean, and that is that the more hours you put in just playing the instrument, the tone comes from your hands.
That's right. And here's what I figured out. I don't need a ton of gear. I don't need the latest and the greatest. I don't need a signature model to tell me that I can play guitar. You know, I don't need the latest rock star to try and sell me his model. You know, I like what I like. It doesn't matter what it is. You know, I don't care if it's a Sears and Roebuck guitar. I don't care if it's a Hondo or a freaking Epiphone or whatever. If it plays good, it's all that matters. You know, if it sounds good, it plays good.
Look what we just did. We just basically came up with a topic for the beta version of the video format of this show. And that, which I didn't, honestly, when I was looking through the pages of Premier Guitar, I was getting more frustrated and like not upset, but just like why do I even fucking get magazines anymore? Because I look through it and it's just like ad, and like who can sift through 1,000 pedals and like why does that? You know, look, Premier Guitar has a really beautiful package.
Yeah,
and they have great advertising and some of the articles are cool and they have a lot of tutorials, how tos. That stuff's awesome.
Yeah.
But to make the whole episode, you know, the whole issue about only pedals, I just think like when I'm looking through it, I'm going, you kind of go a little numb. And if the notion is that you want to try to attract, you know, people to subscribe to your magazine, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the way to do it, man. Because to me, it was just like, I threw it down. I'm like, I'll look at that later because it's too overwhelming. It's in a way, it's like, how obnoxious is the industry?
That's right.
That everybody has a signature pedal now, me included.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's you know, you look at Ibanez, right? Or you look at Schecter. I mean, you know, even Gibson now, everybody and their mother has a signature guitar, you know? And when I was growing up, you had to be somebody special to get a signature guitar. You had to have, you know.
Clapton had one.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Jeff Beck had
Lynch
one.
had
Jimmy
his.
Page, right? You know.
Did Page have one? Page didn't have a signature, did he?
Yeah, I thought he's got a Jimmy Page signature Les Paul.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about that. I know that like when we were graduating high school, it was like the Jeff Beck model Fender Stratocaster.
Yeah, yeah.
You can fact check us. Hey guys, by the way, if we're talking out of our butts, just leave your comment below and correct us. I mean, that's kind of the point of like having an opinions based, you know, you're trying to recall history, but there weren't a lot. You're right about that.
I mean, there wasn't
a hell of a lot. I mean,
Angus Young didn't get a signature guitar until I think into the 90s. You know, if not even later than that. And I think part of that was because he didn't want to. You know, I'm sure he'd been approached many times by Gibson. But
hey, by the way, what's this?
You shook me all night long.
We did that before. Remember we did that a couple of years ago before the tour we did?
Yeah, yeah.
And I fucked up the beginning. I keep messing up all these, you know, it's like my opportunity to play guitar well in real time.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm going to have to, have
to edit it. I mean, you know, and I know that's the other thing too. I never learned, I never wanted to learn Angus Young's solos. He was my number one guitar player. He's the guy, he is the guy for me. Above everybody else, that's my guy. But I've never wanted to learn his solos. You know?
Same for me with Ty Tabor from King's X.
Yeah.
I never learned any of their songs on how to play them. I have a friend who can play them all note for note, you know, and all the different chords and stuff. And they're really fun to listen to, isolated like that. But for me, I never sat down and I tried to sing along to Doug Pinnick's voice because I loved his voice so much. And I would just sit there and enjoy the songs. I never did that either. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I mean, and for me, it was, I knew I was never going to play it better than Angus. So, you know, I'm just going to enjoy it. You know, and as a kid, I would look at photos and be like, oh, I wonder what chord he's doing, even though it was always a root 5 chord, you know, or just an open A or something like that. But as a kid, I didn't know that, you know, but I saw his fingers and I was like, oh, I wonder what he's doing there. And I would try it and it would, you know, either sound cool or it would sound really weird.
You know what I didn't get? I didn't get Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, like I didn't get those bands when I was a kid because for me it was like I started with like, you know, Def Leppard and then like Metallica came out and like we kind of went and then I got into all the shrapnel stuff like Marty Friedman, Jason Becker. You know, I love Steve Vai on 1986, the Eat 'Em and Smile record, and I was kind of going down that path and I learned about Frank Gambale and after I got into the Shrapnel stuff, I really got into Frank Gambale, and just love his playing. Sean Lane. So I kind of learned, like, you kind of learn that later in life, at least for me. Led Zeppelin, I could understand when you start recording your own stuff. You realize the genius of AC/DC, how amazing that is. Now, absolutely. I'm going to make another point. AC/DC was the same way. I didn't get it back then, but I do now for sure. So here's another thing. Let me just say one quick thing. This is kind of putting a period at the end of the sentence. Frank Zappa. I like the notion of what Frank did. Some of the music is really crazy, weird, kind of off-putting. But I love it. I mean, I'm way into Overnight Sensation and Apostrophe. I love those records. And Zoo to Lures, I believe, had Terry Bozzio on drums. The ones with Ship Arriving Too Late to Save a Drowning Witch. God, I can't fucking speak. With Steve Vai on guitar. And then, I do love Frank Zappa's music, but try to play it. Put on anything from Overnight Sensation or Apostrophe and just try to sit down and hang with it.
Yeah, it's not easy.
You can't. You cannot. Those aren't jam night songs.
No, those are definitely not.
And even when you sit, the other night, I think it was I Am the Slime has some really crazy little lines in there. You're going, for shits and giggles, I never try to figure out any Frank Zappa either, except for parts of St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, which has some crazy stuff in it. You got to slow that down or have the charts in order to figure it out. And when I try to just sit down and in real time play along to it, it's just like, man, you can't imagine the genius that was Frank Zappa. I mean, he was just so brilliant.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that stuff's being played on like the bells, like the glockenspiel, the mallet based instruments. You're just going, this stuff is sick, and it's really incredibly hard to play.
I had my encounter with the Zappa family, and it wasn't a pleasant one, but I really admired Dweezil Zappa. I mean, what he's done with the Zappa plays.
You always take us there, dude.
Yeah.
You always take us there, man. I'm like, oh, no, dig yourself out of the hole. What are you talking about, man?
So let me preface this with I really admire Dweezil Zappa and what he's done with the Zappa Plays Zappa and
me too.
How he's honoring his father's music, and I just think it's incredible. I mean, he's I remember when he came out, and and of course everybody's like, oh, he's just Dweezil Zappa's son. I mean, Frank Zappa's son. But the dude is his own guitar player in his own right, and really
he's amazing.
Yes, beyond amazing.
Dweezil Zappa is an amazing guitar player.
So quite a few years ago, I had bought joesatriani.com and joesatriani.net, right? And I wanted to give those to Joe, not charge him for them, but give those to him. So I called my friend Niels Lozauer and I told him I had the names, and he goes, well, what do you want to do? Sell them to Joe? And I said, no, of course not. I want to give them to him. And he goes, well, you want me to call Joe? And I said, well, yeah. So 45 minutes later, my phone rings and it's Joe, and we're on the phone, and and he was shocked that I was giving him the domain names. So I fast forward a couple days later, and I thought, I wonder if what Dweezil Zappa's doing. So Dweezil Zappa, and the domain was available. So I was like, huh.
.com?
It was, I believe, .com and .net. So
yeah.
I just like Joe's. So I called Neil again, and he goes, well, you want to give them to Dweezil? And I said, yes, absolutely. They're his names. He should have them. So he calls Dweezil up, and Dweezil flies off the handle, apparently. Nobody wants to give anything for free in this business, blah, blah, blah. And
what year is this?
God, I want to say 2003, maybe somewhere around there.
Okay.
Apparently,
and that's well before Gail Zappa passed away, and the family trust went to Amit.
Exactly.
In which there was a huge inner turmoil in the family.
Yes. So, Dweezil at the time, I guess, was being taken advantage of by some business people and all that. And I can understand why he was upset the way he was. But again, I just wanted to give them to him for free. So I get an email from Gail Zappa's lawyer saying that I need to relinquish ownership of these domains immediately or I was going to be sued. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I'm trying to give them to you for free, and now you're threatening a lawsuit against me? So I said, all right. So I took my web design skills and I made a Dweezil Zappa fan site. And now I'm not squatting on it. I have every right to own this domain now because I have a Dweezil Zappa fan website. So I filled it up with information, photos, the whole deal. And I sent back the link and I said, now I want $1,000 for this domain. And I get an email back from Gail. Well, we'll send you some Frank Zappa DVDs and some CDs. I don't want any of that. You guys threatened me with a lawsuit when I was trying to do a good thing and give you guys something for free. I don't, you can't do this. I said, well, I'm just going to hold on to the domain name. So I get an email from the lawyer next. What's your address? So I gave her the address. I get a box in the mail filled with DVDs and CDs and a check for $1,000 from Barking Pumpkin Studios. And
who knew this crap was going to happen in this episode? I had no idea. Like, I'm a huge Zappa fan. Yeah. The entire family I'm a fan of.
Yeah, well.
And you're hitting me with this, man.
Right?
So, hey, by the way, the viewpoints of Bill Lonero are by no means any representation of this episode as a whole. or whatever that is. I'll put the little copyright, whatever the disclaimer is.
Like I said, Dweezil is an amazing guitar player, and I really admire him. And, my friend Chris, who does, all the teching for Dweezil and stuff like that. And, he's talked to Dweezil and Dweezil explained to him what happened. And I've gone to Dweezil's show and, I walked past him in a hallway and I was going to stop him and say, hey, look, this is the situation. And by the way, I never cashed that check. And it was more the principle of the thing as opposed to anything else. And it was just, I wanted him to have his domains before somebody else got him and squatted on him and wanted, $30,000 for him. So again,
all right, let's eject out of this. Anything else we can say nice about the Zappa family?
Hey,
I wasn't going there, but that's an interesting story.
I mean, hey, it's all nice about the Zappa family. Really, really, again, it wasn't him. It was, Gail that sicked the lawyers on me, and it was just.
I can understand it though. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, I mean, could you imagine how many times the Zappa, Frank Zappa and his music, like he owned all the masters.
Of course.
I mean, he owned all of the masters to all of his music. And I can imagine there were a lot of times when maybe he didn't make so much money in return for the investment of the musicians and the tours he had to book. So it just makes sense.
Well,
I mean, they're looking after the brand name.
That's right. But here's the thing. First off, it was Niels Lozauer who frickin' called them up and said he wants to give you the names for free. Now, Neil's been working with Frank Zappa since the 70s, so he's a family friend. Second, all they had to do was call Joe, and Joe be like, hey, he gave me my names for free too, So no money involved, nothing wanted, didn't need anything. Just, these are your domains, these are your names, you should have them. I'm not trying to get anything. I don't want anything from you. And again, never wanted anything from Joe, just here you go. So they just approached it in the wrong way. And I get it, like you said, they've had a lot of people take advantage of them. But when you've got a friend coming at you saying, no, he doesn't want anything for them, maybe you should listen,
So we peed on Premier Guitar.
We didn't.
We peed on the Zappa family.
No, you peed on Premier. I didn't.
And I don't mind doing it. I've placed ads with them before.
Me too.
A co-op with Delaney Guitars. And
so strap tight. Absolutely.
They're an ad base. I mean, we get it. All right. So how can we wrap this up? So this has been our premiere episode, beta version, and you're going to be at your studio next time.
Yeah.
And we promise we'll play some more notes. We'll have some more things figured out. Are you playing at the same time I'm playing?
Yeah, I wanted it to be like Guitar Center. I want it to be like Guitar Center.
That edit's going to sound fucking amazing, dude. Going to cut all that shit out.
What?
Why don't you play us out, Bill?
Why are my guitar segments always shorter?
Because you play less notes.
That's true.
All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching this premiere video episode of our podcast. Check me out on gregmarra.com, YouTube channel /Marra Music. Bill, where can folks catch you?
BillOnero.com, Instagram, Guitarist Bill Lonero, and anywhere else, just type Bill Lonero.
All right, see if you can do this. Take your pick. See if you can hit the camera. I missed. You hit it. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
All right, folks, we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.